Hi everyone, it's Vivian. Welcome to another episode of Sit and Knit with Vivette. I'm coming to you today on Tuesday the 6th of August with my regular July update. A little bit later than usual, as at the end of July we had quite record temperatures and it was just a little bit too warm to sit in front of a camera with the windows closed when it was 34 degrees outside. So a little bit later than usual, but still with lots of content. So first of all, hello to all my viewers, both new and returning. Thank you for coming and spending some time with me and finding out what I've been getting up with over the July period. So if you're sitting comfortably, I'll just run through a few admin things first. The first one being that to find me on social media, I'm known as Vivette B1. I'm mainly on Instagram, and also I have a Ravelry page that I keep updated with my projects, but that's where you'll find me mostly, is on Instagram and on YouTube obviously. So without further ado, if we're all sitting comfortably, let's start with finished objects. So as you know, the reason for my podcasting is that I am knitting hats for the homeless to donate at the end of the year. And last month I was halfway through this one, but I hadn't put the pom-pom on. Well, I finished it and I've put the pom-pom on, and as you can see I used some of the leftover yarn mixed with the purple. So that's a 2x2 ribbed hat with pom-pom. I then cast on and knit another one. So I actually got 2 hats and 2 pom-poms out of a 100-gram ball of DK wool. This is Serdar Dapple, and it was one that I used to make a top off, and it was left over a ball. So I've managed to get 2 hats. These are probably teenager because they're not quite 9.5 inches in length. So they will be for teenagers or older children, but they will go to charity and I'm sure someone will love them. So that's my first finished object. My second finished object was one that I was working on when I spoke to you before, and that is my Trip for 2 socks, which is the sock swap that I did with Barbara from Knitting I Love when we met up at Woolen in June, and I've now finished them. So these are the socks. I should show you quickly and I should just take you down to one. So this is a Bergeret colourway, which I talked about the details in my last video, and I just teamed it with a neutral one. So I did 2 socks, I knit tubes, and then I just put the toe up and then put the cuffs and the heels in afterwards. So this is a really lovely wool to work with. It's the first time I've ever worked with Bergeret. It's a French wool, but it's really nice, and I had enough left over. I've got about 5 grams left over that I can put into either my Full of Minis hat, or I might start a Cozy Memories blanket or a Northeasterly. I'm still debating on that yet, to use up some of my minis. So that was my first pair of socks finished. My second pair of socks that I finished was a test knit that I was doing for Julie, who is the dyer and owner behind Suffolk Socks. She dyes under the name of the Yarn Tart, and she asked me to test knit a new pattern for her. So this is it here. It's called the Buttercup Meadow pattern. So as you can see, it's got yarn overs, and it's got her signature Latvian twist at the top, and a star toe. This is a really lovely pattern. It has now been published and is available on Julie's website together with the yarn, which is the Buttercup Meadow yarn. This is her own hand-dyed yarn, and it's lovely. It was such a nice rhythmic pattern to knit, and I really enjoyed doing it, and I can see me doing more of these, maybe a shorty pair as well, and definitely with the Latvian twist, because that's a really nice cast on to do. Not something that I've done before, but I really enjoyed doing it. So that is the Buttercup Meadow sock, and I will link to that below as always. So that's my 2 pairs of socks for the month, and I have one other finished object. Hold on one moment, I'm just going to drink of water. So my other finished object, you may have seen on Instagram, is a jumper that I self-drafted. I had this yarn in my stash from 2016 when I bought it from Eleanor, who is the owner behind the shop Knit Nottingham, which is a bricks and mortar shop based in Nottingham town centre, city centre. And she was talking about it on her vlogs, because she stocks King Cole, and it's their King Cole Drifter range, their DK range. And she was stocking it, and she was talking about the pattern that she was going to knit with it. So I ordered it from her, and I knitted the pattern that came with it, which was a cardigan but it was one that you knit in pieces, and I never ever got around to sewing it up. It sat in a bag in the footstool for ages, and then about 2 or 3 months ago I was going through the footstool just to see what was in there, because I'd kind of forgotten, and found lots of yarn and bit half-started things, and I thought, I really like that yarn, but I don't like the idea of sewing up the cardigan, and I'd fallen out of love with the cardigan. So I fogged it all back and I knit this with it instead. So this is a self-drafted, you're not going to see this very well, I'll move back a little bit so it might help. This is a self-drafted pattern. So using a pattern that I'd done before, which is the 2 V-neck summer tops that I did with the eyelets on them, I took the stitch count for that, because you cast on at the bottom for those, and knit them in back and front. But what I did was I cast on double. I then knit all the way up in the round to where it says that you should split for the armhole decreases on the other pattern, and then I literally just carried on and worked it out and put a neckline border in. I then knit the sleeves from the cuff upwards, increasing every 4th or 6th row until I got the size that I wanted in. I just kind of literally kept trying it on my arm and did the same thing. Then I came back and I picked up at the bottom, all around the bottom, and knit this split hem that you can see, because I like a split hem. So it was very much a case of working it out as I went along. I've tried it on and it really fits me nicely, and I'm really pleased. So, and I've still got 2.5 balls of the original yarn left over that I might work out whether or not I can do a short sleeve summer crop top or something with it, because it's really nice yarn. It is the King Cole Drifter, and they say it's got a cotton blend as well as some woolen acrylic in it, and as they say, drifter, softer than crofter. So I'm really pleased with how it's come up. I will pop a picture of it. I have tried it on, but I haven't worn it yet because it's been way too hot to wear it, because it's a DK weight. But I will show you a picture of it on the hanger so you get a better idea. And as I mentioned last month, I purchased these little cat labels for because my friend Claire mentioned them to me, and there is quite a bit of cat hair in this, because Bonnie did decide that even though it was the hottest week in records, she wanted to sit on my lap at any given opportunity. Mad cat. So yes, this is my final finished object, but I'm really pleased with it. I've written down what I've done so I can replicate it again, but just from a case of like working it out as I went along, I'm really pleased with how it's turned out, so very chuffed. So those are all my finished objects for this month. Like I say, I've not got many because it's been a little bit warm, and the jumper did take quite a lot of time, admittedly, and that was once, because especially when I was knitting around, it was really handy just to keep going and going and going and going. It was lovely, especially when it was hot. But I do have some works in progress, and I also have some treats as well. So let's get on to those ones, and some rabbit holes, which I'll talk to you about later. So first of all, my works in progress. My first one, she says, hold on. My first one is a test knit for the lovely Barbara of Knitting I Love. So I won't show you the actual test knit itself, I will just show you the yarn that I'm using. So it's 3 colours, and where's the third one? Come on, where are you? These are 2 of them. So this is the main colourway, and this one is part of the contrast, and this one is actually variegated, so I'm winding some of it off to get the darkest part of it. So that's 2 of them. The third one, if I can find it, because it's caught up in here somewhere, is this one, which is one of the very first hand-dyed skeins that I ever bought, and it was from at Waltham Abbey Wool Show, and it was by Sparkle Duck, who unfortunately, as many of you will know, is no longer with us. But it's a lovely colourway, so I'm using that in a test knit that I'm using for Barbara. I will show you obviously the finished object once the pattern has been published, but it's a very nice relaxing knit. It uses the mosaic stitch and the mosaic technique that I used on the socks that I test knit for Barbara last month, and once you get going into it, it's really nice. Thoroughly enjoying it. So that is my first works in progress. My second works in progress is this one here, and this is another pair of socks, and this is the Love and Cherish socks by Craft House Magic, who is the lovely Ellie in her podcast here. So I will show you a picture of it on the front. Oops, excuse the noise. So that's it there. And it's her To Love and Cherish pattern, and it's available on her website, and I'll put a link to her website below. The colourway and the yarn that I'm knitting in it is from Suffolk Socks, and this is her Mama J colourway, which is lovely blues and lilacs, and as you can see there. So that's it, and this is how far I've got with the first sock. So I've not started, I only started it at the weekend, so that's just how far I've got. And I've got one of Hannah's little lovely progress keepers on it, which is the little purple dragon. So it's all blues and purples, this one, as you can see. Oh, I moved back, didn't I? So that's it there that you can see. And it's knitting up lovely, and the colour's knitting up lovely as well. So this is a really, like I say, another really nice. I'm kind of seem to be into the patterning socks with the eyelets and stuff at the moment, but I think these will make nice summer socks, and I did love the pattern. So that is my other work in progress. So I only have 2 works in progress. That's terrible. I need more. I need to cast on more. So the hats for homeless, the one that I'm knitting as part of the test knit, will actually become a hat for the homeless, because it's not something colourway that either Sean or I would wear. So it's a good way of actually incorporating 2 things, knitting and test knitting, and something that someone's going to benefit from afterwards. So those are all of my works in progress. Only 2. So now, once I finish this podcast, I must now go and desperately cast on something else. I think I need to start doing some of the Christmas knitting. That C word again. But I need to start getting some gift knitting ready for Christmas. So I think that might have to be my next thing. So that's all my works in progress. So it could be quite a short episode this week. But talking of works in progress, I have kind of jumped down another rabbit hole, or jumped back down another rabbit hole, should I say. For those people that have known me for a while and know me personally, I also do cross stitch. I've been doing cross stitch now since I was a teenager. I really, really enjoyed it. We actually did it at school, believe it or not. It was just a little thing, you made a bookmark, and that what started me off on it. But it's mainly counted cross stitch that I do. And I've been watching some new podcasts. And one of the new podcasts that I've been watching is Ellie of Craft House Magic, who I was talking about just now. And she is, I don't know how she finds the time to craft, because she has so many different crafts. She embroiders, she knits, she designs, she quilts, she dress makes. Well, I don't know how she finds the times, but she does. And she podcasts on a weekly basis as well. But watching some of her podcasts, I was like, oh, I haven't done any cross stitch in ages. And I thought, I really fancy doing some. So I have a purchase, a treat as I call it, one of many. But the first one that I have is this. So I've purchased a cross stitch kit that I'm going to do and frame to go in my craft room. I couldn't find one with lots of yarns on it, but I did find this one with all this lovely, it's got a cross stitch on it and it's got sewing on it. And as I'm getting into my sewing a little bit more, I thought that was quite nice. So I'm going to be sitting and doing that. And I've also got a couple more that I'm going to do as gifts for people. So I can't show you those, but I thought that's really, really nice. It's been a couple of years since I picked up my cross stitch. The last thing that I did was I did Christmas cards for lots of my friends, and I might do that again this year if I find some time, because I've got lots and lots of threads and I just need to get some cards and some Ada really, and to crack on. So that was the first of my treats. The second of my treats was, again, going back to Ellie, she has an Etsy shop where she actually sells some of the things that she works on. And she's had this beautiful, I don't know if you can see if I move back again, this beautiful drawstring bag with free machine embroidery on it in butterflies. And anyone who knows me well that I love purple and fuchsia pink, and I love butterflies. So I've been looking at it in her shop now for about maybe 6 weeks, and each week I was like, if it's still there, it's mine. 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 And last week I thought, right, it's been there now long enough for me to justify buying it. So I did. And it's lovely. It's really big. You'd easily be able to get a shawl in there and 5 and 6 skeins of yarn. So it's quite good. And you can also fold the top down, which I really enjoy because it means I can use it to keep the yarn in and then just do it that way. So that is currently housing my socks of hers that I'm knitting, so I think that goes rather well together. So that was my second treat. My third treat and final treat is very much based on the jumper that I knit in, which was in the King Cole Drifter. Now they've recently brought out, King Cole, what they call the Drifter Supple, and you'll see a colour theme here. So I've picked up this colourway, which is the fuchsia colourway. It is made up of 25% cotton, 6% wool and 69% premium acrylic, and for 100 grams you get 300 metres on 100 grams. Now that to me is great value for a DK, because normally you get about 200, 210 on a DK because you get 400 on a fingering weight, but to get 300 metres out of a 100 gram ball, excuse me, I think is absolutely great value for money. So I'm going to do another jumper with it. I might do a very similar to the one that I've done there, or I might do something slightly different. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to have a look at some patterns, but I will do it as an autumn type jumper. Probably won't do a cardigan. I think I'll probably get better wear out of a jumper, but I couldn't believe the meterage on that, so it was really good. Now I did order it from Wool Warehouse, so I know they say to support your local yarn shop, but my local yarn shop isn't exactly local to me. There is a new one that's opened up in Alsett called All Tangled Up, which I will have to make a visit to check out, but I don't know if she stocks King Cole or not, so I will do that to find out. But with Wool Warehouse, if you order over £25 you get free shipping, so I needed to make up £25. So I ordered this James C. Brett Funny Feet. Now I didn't know James C. Brett did a sock yarn, and as you can see, if I show you again, the colourway is very much teal with purple and olive green and some grey, so I'm assuming it will be a self-striper of some sort. But this was only £4.15 for a ball of sock wool. Now I was really surprised at that price, because normally sock wool is in the £6, £7 range. So as it was only making up to the free packaging, I ordered it because I'll be interested to see what it is, see how it works up. It's 400 metres, 436 yards, 75% superwash wool, 25% polyamide rather. So I will be really interested, because like I say, I didn't realise that James C. Brett did a sock wool, and if they're going to do them, sell them at £4 or £5 a ball, that is very good value, especially if you're beginning sock knitter and you don't want to spend lots of money on expensive yarns and stuff like that. So I shall report back on how this knits up for sock yarn. So those are all of my treats. No, I tell a lie, there's another one, and this one, it was a bit of fun. So this one is, I've got fibres tickling my nose. This one is, I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, there's a lady, and I can't remember her name, and I do apologise, who is known as Skanehead. She's a punk, literally a punk with a beautiful pink mohican. Wonderful. But she also does merchandise as well, and a podcast. So again, I'll link to both of those. But she's brought out a bag. Again, I'll have to move back a bit so that you can see it. So this is the bag, and I just loved it. I just looked at it and thought, I love that. And when you watch her podcast, she explains, because her twin sister is the designer, so it's very much a family affair. She explains what all the different tattoos are and why they're on there, which was really interesting. She's also a very big Jane Austen fan, so if you like Jane Austen, she's recently been to Bath and did a vlog of it there, so that's worth watching. But that was just I like the colours, and it was something that went, oh, reminds me of my past when I had funky colour hair and stuff like that. So that was my other purchase, but that is all of my purchases for this month, or my treats as I call them. I call them treats. So the only other thing that I've been doing is some more sewing. So as I showed you last month, I'd done some sewing with Claire on her reusable and sustainable products that she's brought out, so like the produce bags, and she also did a drawstring bag. So the other thing that she's brought out is some reusable paper towels. So you know, the ones, the kitchen roll that you normally have. And I hadn't made some, but I have now. So I've only shown you a couple. I've actually made 8 in total. So I'm just using scraps of yarn. So it's literally just a a square of a scrappy yarn, and I've got some like fleece that I had on the back from when I used to sew and make things for craft fairs, and I made babies' bibs, and this would be on the back. So we're actually using these more as napkins than actual for mopping up spills and stuff like that. So this literally, this fabric is one that I made. So I'll put butterfly up the right way. See, butterflies again. This fabric is one that I made my very first ever project bag with Claire out of, and this was the leftovers. So I had managed to get 2 in this fabric. And the other fabric that I've used is this one here, which is elephants, all different elephants. And again, that was, I made a tote bag with Claire. It's called the Expandable Crazy Patch Bag, and you do free machine embroidery on it and patchwork and stuff like that. And that was one of the patchworks, and I had some left over that, so I managed to get 2 out of that, and some other fabric as well. But we've been making great use of these, and it's really great that we don't have to buy kitchen roll anymore. So those are other things that I've been making. So that's quite the end of what I've got to talk to you today. So it's been quite a short one this week. I've rattled on and rattled through it quite quickly. But it is a lovely sunny day outside, and I do want to go and sit in the garden for a little bit and do some more knitting and find something else to cast on. I've only got 2 whips. I'll have nothing to show you next month. So I really must cast on. So thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. I hope you've enjoy some of the things that you've seen, and I shall be back to you at the end of the month or the beginning of September with some more. So until then, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.